right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, epic lives for themselves and for their families. So today, guys, we got a special guest on the show, guy I'm really excited to have on the show. CEO of Barbell Shrugged and Barbell Business, top fitness entrepreneur and coach. So really stoked and honored to have Mike Bledsoe on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Joshua. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. I've got a massive passion for fitness, and I got a massive passion for business. So when I interview, anytime I have the opportunity to interview a successful entrepreneur that's in the fitness space, man, it's always my favorite guest, man. So really stoked to have you on, dude. So I know you're doing a lot of big things today. You've got a couple very successful companies, but before we talk about that, I'm really interested in your journey that led you here to the first place. So if we rewind the clocks to high school, college, like how did your whole entrepreneur journey start in the first place?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was running a business before I would have self-identified as an entrepreneur. I was running a CrossFit gym. I opened one up in 2007 in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was in the process in 2009 of bringing in an additional business partner. And all I knew is that I wanted to be running a gym, and I knew that the town needed that kind of gym. And I saw opportunity, I saw a hole in the market, I saw a need, and I went to fill it. And so I was just like, well, of course somebody has to do it, I guess I will. And when I was bringing in my business partner, he was doing a lot of studying around business and entrepreneurship, and he goes, oh, you're an entrepreneur, like you're like a type E entrepreneur is what he called it. And there's just certain people who they're going to be an entrepreneur no matter what. And then there's other people who, they may find themselves in entrepreneurship by having partnered with somebody who's like doing it or something like that. And so he was like, yeah, you're a type E. And he got me into studying some of the same stuff he was studying. And this is my partner, Doug. And I was like, oh yeah, well after I started learning about what an entrepreneur was, like personality wise, what was typical of entrepreneurs, I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's definitely me. And then just having the awareness that that I was that kind of a person was really, really helpful. Prior to that, I was actually really opposed to getting into business. It was like I tried not to own a business because I grew up, my father owned businesses growing up, and it seemed like he was always struggling. Like he was really good at like working for himself type of thing. Like he gave himself a job, but he wasn't very good at delegating or building a team, or there's a lot of things where what I saw growing up and owning a business is that you just work your ass off and the reward was not that great, is what I saw. And so what's interesting is even though I had that frame growing up and going, I don't want to do that, I still found myself doing it, which, looking back and understanding human nature now, I go, well, yeah, we're pretty much doomed to repeat what our parents brought us up as, or their own, they pass their patterns down to us unless we have an awareness around those patterns and choose to change them. But at that point in my journey, I really didn't have that level of awareness. Thank God, because I'm really happy that I got into the entrepreneurship game and owning businesses. And it was really difficult in the beginning because I didn't fully identify as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. I felt business in the beginning was like a necessity that kind of sucked. And then it wasn't until I fully embraced entrepreneurship and go, you know what? I'm actually going to do my marketing, my sales, my accounting, all that stuff that doesn't sound fun. I'm going to do it as well as I do my service and product, because I think a lot of people, including myself, focus so much on the product or service that they're actually delivering they forget that there's this entire system that you have to focus on in order to support that product or service so you can reach more people. So, yeah, that's kind of like, and I guess in very conceptual terms, a little bit about my journey. I can get into more details of what actually happened, like sleeping in my gym and shit like that.
Yeah, dude. So well, first before we go, because I mean, I hate the word failures because that's what we learn and we grow, and that defines us to who we are. So definitely want to hear about some of those, man. But why fitness, dude? Like, why did you? We were always athletic growing up. Did you just have a massive passion for fitness, or was it really just shit? I see a need here, and you just decided to give it a shot.
It's funny. Yeah, like it was always like fitness was always like the thing that made the most sense to me. I was always drawn to it. I would say like even when I was maybe 13, 14 years old, I remember going to the health food store with my mom, but what later became Whole Foods. Whole Foods bought the store. It was called Wild Oats was the name of the store in Memphis. I remember going and wanting like seeing herbal remedy books and stuff and being like, oh, this is really fascinating, and like picking them up and reading through them. And I don't think there's any other like 13 or 14-year-olds thinking that was a good idea. Like, oh wow, you could use foods to heal your body or something like that. And when I wanted to lift weights when I was always played sports, baseball, soccer, things like that, swim team, and I told my parents, I was like, I really want to lift weights. And they were like, well, you need to wait till you're 15. Like I think they bought into the it'll stunt your growth.
Yeah.
We didn't even really have the internet back then. Like it was like AOL.com and chat rooms. So like finding high quality information was really difficult. It was just kind of like whatever rumors and old wives' tales were running around is what your parents believed. Why wouldn't they, right? So I remember, and at the gym, it was basically to train at the gym by yourself, you had to be 15 years old. So that was like the mark. So as my 15th birthday approached, I was buying like muscle and fitness magazines, and I would go, at the magazine stand at the grocery store, I was like buying all these magazines and reading them. It's like on my 15th birthday, I was at the gym.
Yeah.
Like figuring, like had the magazine open, trying to do it. And a few weeks after that, I was showing my mom how to lift weights.
Yeah.
I was, she had been like walking and running and stuff like that. And, I had been studying this stuff, and I told her, I was like, you should really be lifting weights too. So I got her in the gym, and I was like basically personal training my mom like weeks after I was able to do it myself, which is I don't know. I look back on that and I was like, well, of course I would go into that type of business. Like it's something it's the thing that I want to give the people I love, no matter like whether I'm getting paid for it or not. This is what I would deliver. I want to deliver health and wellness to the people I love. And, as I got older, it made sense that would be the business I would be in. There was a gap between, in high school, I did a lot of different jobs. I sold computers. I worked on an IT network. I lifeguarded. I roofed houses. I did all those things in high school. I don't think I ever took a break. And then I joined the Navy after that. And I think, I could go into a lot of reasons why I did that. But while I was there, I realized I didn't want to do that. And I got out and I went to school, and I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. I just knew that, I knew all the things I didn't want to do, and I knew that going to school couldn't hurt, and I had GI Bill, so that made it really convenient. And so I started with a business degree. So I was like, you know what? Out of all the degrees, like if you learn something about business, it can't hurt you, right? Like it's always a good thing to know more about. So about 2 months into the business degree, I decided to change degree programs because the accounting class was kicking my ass. And, and at the time, like if you come from the frame of mind of like, oh, I was in high school, I was in the military, like your ideas around what business is completely inaccurate. like as inaccurate as you could probably be. And so, so my first introduction to business at a university was accounting. So we just started diving into debits and credits and all this shit, and I'm just like, none of this makes any sense. I'm out. So I discovered there was this program called Exercise Science in the Health and Human Performance department at the University of Memphis, and I was like, oh, I like all that. I've always liked that. I've always when I was in the Navy, I was reading like NSCA textbooks, and I was in forums on fitness forums and stuff like that. I don't know. It's so funny looking back on it that like it didn't occur to me that I wanted to be in the fitness business. The thought had kind of lingered in the back of my mind, like it would be cool to own a gym one day, but I never thought about like that being a career. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got what my mindset was like as I was growing up.
Yeah, love it, man. So then you get to the point now. You got your first fitness business, your CrossFit business, and again, so often we talk about our successes, which are great, but a lot of people don't hear about the struggles of businesses. And I hate the word failures because that's where we grow and develop and become the really human beings that we are from those experiences. When you got into that space, what were some of the 2 or 3 of the obstacles, the challenges maybe that you didn't think would be a challenge that you had to overcome that have really defined you to the guy you are today?
Yeah, I thought that I was because it was obvious to me that there should be a CrossFit gym in Memphis. I was the first one that I thought it'd be obvious to everyone in Memphis that they should go to the gym. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll start a CrossFit gym, and then I'll put a sign on the front of the building, and then people will come in. So it was like zero marketing. It was like kind of sat there, and I was like, no one's coming in. I figured, I'd invite my friends, and my friends would come in, and they would tell their friends. And nope, it was really slow. I mean, I think I got a total of 30 people in there. And in a CrossFit gym, in order to be successful, we're looking at 150 to 300 clients in order, usually for the typical model to be successful. And I was kind of like stuck at 30. I was like, what is going on? So we started blogging, we started a website, and, this is back in 07, 08. And I built the website, we built it, and it was really dark, and it was bad marketing. So, one of the first things that I had to learn was that your marketing has to be indicative of your client, not of who you are. Yeah. Like you have to, I remember the day I learned that. I was like, oh shit, everything I've been doing, it makes sense why I'm not attracting people, because I'm making it all about me and I'm not making it about the client. And so I was like, oh, I need to make a website that's not so scary. I need to make a website that's not so intimidating. I need to make it super friendly. Like, what do the clients want to see? I don't need pictures of some power lifter or weightlifter who's 25 years old putting up big weight, because that's not most of my clients, and the people I need to attract probably just want to lose a few pounds, and we need to make this less intimidating. We need to make this about having fun. And, I would say that was a mistake that I lingered in for a while before my eyes were open to the fact that things need to change around marketing. Another mistake I made was I just wasn't tracking the numbers on things. To this day, I'm not the guy in my business tracking numbers. I look at the spreadsheets and I look at graphs and things like that after someone else produces them. But I in the beginning I didn't really see the value in tracking all the metrics and having key performance indicators and things like that. And it's so funny, is like I had a hard time in the beginning just tracking how many people were coming in the gym to train a day. And now we're looking at the metrics that I look at now on a weekly basis it would blow my mind. Like if I could rewind the clock 10 years ago and be like, these are the kind of metrics you consider now, I'd be like, what? Tracking everything from how many people show up to the website? Where do they come from once they get to the website? How many of them, opted in for this thing? How many of those converted? What are these sales? And just like digging into these funnels and looking at the conversions, that's extremely interesting to me now. And I think the big reason I wasn't doing that is I didn't really understand why. So anytime anyone's not doing anything, we as I also coach people in business. If someone's not doing something that's obvious to me that they should be doing in business, it then signals to me is they don't understand why you should be doing it in the first place. So then, start with why. If you ever read the books, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, I highly recommend it. But, as someone who's in the fitness industry, as a fitness coach or any kind of coach, if you're just trying to make a sell, if you're trying to give somebody advice, these are all things that are really beneficial. Like starting with why is kind of like the number one way to go. Another mistake I made is trying to keep all the money in the business and not paying myself what I really should be getting paid. It seems like a good idea until it's not. And I would say the number one reason is if you don't pay yourself a decent amount of money, what you'd really need to be getting paid, you'll end up becoming a liability to your own business. So every one of your own financial struggles becomes the financial struggle of the business. And so it is really all tied together. And so if you're paying yourself last, then everything's going to end up sucking at some point. But if you pay yourself first, it's going to force you to be creative. It's going to force you to do things right. And I think that when we pay ourselves last, then it can feel good in the short term, like, oh, I'm building this business, but in the long term, it'll end up sabotaging everything. And that's a lesson I've had to learn a few times. I get over that, and then I pay myself a good amount of money, and then as my businesses grow, it's like I forget the lesson or something. I'm getting paid, I get paid more than the average American. I know that. And, or pay myself more than the average American. But at the same time, if I'm considering what I'm getting paid compared to what the revenue is being produced by my businesses, I sometimes have to have a wake-up call of it's hard because you're not actually paying yourself appropriately to the kind of work that you're doing. And so I think people who aren't making much money, they look at people who are running businesses and owning businesses, and they're like, holy shit, they're making $1 million a year? What do they do with that money? And now I'm like, well, I know exactly what they do with that money. It's actually, if you're doing that thing and you're making that big of an impact and you're doing it's almost necessary for everything to match up. So pay yourself first type of thing.
So somebody's in that situation where they maybe are trying to, they're a company now, revenue's coming in, it's profitable, they're trying to figure out how do they pay themselves. I mean, when you do that in the different spaces that you've been in, I mean, do you do research to see what maybe if you were to hire a CEO in that space that was doing the kind of revenue that you would get, what that salary compensation is? How do you keep reassessing that as your businesses keep leveling up?
Honestly, the way I do it is every year I create a new vision for what I want out of life. What do I want my life to look like in a year from now? And then I figure out how much money I really want to be making. And then I build that into the business. It's not necessarily, it's kind of like I've learned to just put myself first. So it's not so much about my business is doing this, what's appropriate for me to get paid. That's how I used to operate, and now I operate from, this is the lifestyle I want to live, this is the kind of home I want to live in, this is where I want to live, this is the kind of car I want to drive. Then I'm like, okay, well, then I need to get paid this amount of money, and I'm gonna build my business in a way that allows that to happen. Additionally, one of the things I do is I really track where my time is going. So like, look, right now I need to hire like an in-person personal assistant, not an executive assistant, not someone to help me with the business, someone to help me in my personal life. And I found that out because I'm spending hours and hours and hours a week running errands, doing shit around the house, prepping food. I'm losing like 10 hours a week to this kind of stuff. And most of the stuff that I'm doing isn't really even that beneficial. So I go, oh, it's going to cost me, $2,000 or $1,500 a month to pay someone else to do this. That gives me 10 hours a week back, which is my hour is worth, we could say my hour is worth, $200, but I can pay someone else $15 an hour to take care of something. So I need to so part of that is what is my value to the business? Like as it's generating revenue, what kind of value am I bringing to the business? And when I'm tracking my time, energy, effort, and all that is what's taking away from my ability to keep building that business. And it's like, oh, well, I need an additional $2,000 in personal income to pay somebody to take care of those tasks. So it might be one of those things where like, oh, okay, I'm getting paid $10,000 a month. Oh, but I need to hire someone to help me leverage my own ability even more. Okay, I probably should give myself a raise so that I can hire that person so I can focus more on the things that are important to me. And sometimes those things that are important to me aren't even the business. It's something like family, It's like, yeah, I'm putting all this energy in the business. I'm putting all this energy into the stuff around my home and doing that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the day, what's left over for family? Nothing. And so getting into the mindset of buying your time back. Time is the only thing that is actually a finite resource. And a lot of things that motivate me to make more money at this point is so I can buy my time back, do only the things I really enjoy doing, work and personally, so that I can, we only live once.
Yeah, love it, man. Yeah, it's crazy when most people have no idea what they're truly worth per hour, or I even took it to the next extreme to identify what it's worth per minute, and then it just puts you in this whole different perspective of utilizing that time and being so critical about it, and just having that awareness, man. I couldn't agree more, dude. So, all right, dude. So I know now that you're in California, right? So then, what transpires or happens that takes you from Tennessee to California? And you also, you're not owning a CrossFit gym. Maybe you own a CrossFit gym, but you own several other companies out there too. I mean, what led to where you're at now?
Yeah, I was running the gym. It was going really well, and through a variety of events, I decided to start a podcast. And I had many motivations for starting it. Some of them were business, but when I started it, it became obvious. And my business partner Doug and I started kind of playing around with blogging and things like that, like things that would be online lead generation in the past, and we just weren't good writers. We could write, we just weren't motivated to write on a daily or even weekly basis. So when we discovered the podcasting, and we started playing around with it, we're like, oh shit, this is actually a lot of fun. This is something we could do every week, easy. So we started podcasting. We started the podcast Barbell Shrugged, and it really, a lot of people go, oh wow, it really took off. Well, yeah, that's what it appears. Like if you showed up 2 years after we started, it felt like it took off. Is it like everybody seems like an overnight success?
Yeah.
But they don't see the 10 years leading up to the overnight success. And we put in a lot of work. We decided to put a show out every week, and 6 months, 12 months, 18 months into it, we really built a really solid audience, and then we built products to training programs specifically. We sold a lot of different types of products, digital information products, and seminars and stuff like that to our audience, which really started generating some income. And we started some online training programs. So we took this same kind of model that we were running in the gym and we put it online to train people that had specific goals. In CrossFit, what's being sold is GPP, general physical preparedness. and not everyone wants GPP. They should have GPP as the base, but maybe they want to put on mass, or maybe they want to get leaner, or maybe they want to improve at, something specific like weightlifting. And most gyms weren't putting that out, so we decided to put together online training programs that were goal specific in nature. And that did really well. That took us from making, $5,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to $30,000 a month as soon as we launched our first program. So by the time we launched our second, third iteration of the training programs and we started building that revenue, I realized I never really felt like where I was living was home, and it was just kind of, I kept on getting stuck. And people talk about that like oh, I didn't ever intend to live in this city, but somehow I got stuck living in this city, or I took this job and now I've been here for, I thought I was going to be there for 1 year and now I'm there for 20 years. Like, what happened? I mean, we all hear those stories. And it was one of those things where that's kind of like what it was for me. Is one day I woke up and I was like, wow, I literally, when I left the Navy and I went back to Memphis, Tennessee, my plan was to be there for 3 months. And I visited California. I was like, that is where I always wanted to live. And on my flight home, I was like, I make more money online than I do running the gym, which means I can live anywhere I want to live. I'm going to live in San Diego. And so, and it kind of hit me. I was kind of mad at myself in that moment too. I was like, dude, I never even intended to live in Memphis that long. I moved there to hang out with my family for a few months because I didn't spend much time with them for 5 years when I was in the military. I was like, you know what? I need to spend some time with these people. And then, I started, I just decided to attend the local university instead of going to a different university. Start making exceptions, right? We start, compromising. And so I compromised on where I was going to go to school, which ended up being a good thing. And I compromised on opening a gym, which ended up being a good thing. But there was a day where I woke up and I go, I did that. I was like, kind of like, oh, wow. I was only be here for 3 months, and now it's been, 7 years or something like that, or 6 years. I go, wow, okay. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave. And I talked to my business partners and everyone I was working with and got buy-in from everybody, like, hey, we should all move, And it wasn't easy, and some people moved here and then moved back, and it didn't really work out for everybody the whole time. It was probably one of the least easy things I'd ever done. It wasn't a smooth transition. It was like, yeah, we'll just go to California. Cool. All right, see you there next week. It was almost a year it was over a year, I think, of kind of back and forth with business partners, employees, whatnot. And but yeah, it overall was a really good move. There was definitely a lot of opportunities that opened up to us once we got out to California. It's just a bigger pond that we're playing in out here.
Yep, love it, man. So are you at this point then? Are you in the bricks and mortar space, if you will? I mean, have you went back now that in California to opening up more facilities, or is it just straight because you've been crushing it with the digital products and coaching? Have you just went full that path? Have you merged them?
Yeah, so I mean, I technically still own my facility in Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm not very involved. I'm only at the owner level for that. I'm not in management. I'm not anything like that. So I only own that. Yeah, most of my attention, we stayed on training programs, and then I also have that was Shrug. That's mostly focused on the coach and the athlete. And then Barbell Business, we launched that podcast, which is for the fitness entrepreneur, and we began gearing it more specifically to the gym owners. So giving advice specifically to gym owners on how to, treat their gym like a business, because I recognize that a lot of CrossFit specifically, and I think this is true of most gym owners, especially small gyms, is they didn't want to really own their own business. They really just want to do it their own way. This is how I want to do fitness. This is how I have a passion for teaching people. And so we started teaching, we used that podcast to inspire and encourage people to take their gym as a serious business. Over the last couple of years, we partnered with some guys that built this. When they brought it to me, I didn't think it was real. Like what they described me, I was like, no, you guys are full of it. No way, it's as good as you say it is. And it's a marketing automation platform designed specifically for CrossFit gyms. And the gyms lease it for a month at a time, and it's $1,000 a month. And for $1,000 a month, they get the entire website, which is beautiful. It's some of the most CrossFit websites are and these are just spot on, built for conversions. They're beautiful. And then they get the website. They also get tons of automation on the back end, tons of campaigns. We're tracking everything that's going on with their clients. Essentially, when we've been selling that product for almost a year and a half, and when gyms get this, they go from like, man, I got a website out there, I hope someone books a session, to we manage all that, the lead nurturing. If someone lands on the website, we get them to opt in. They get automatic emails to keep them engaged with what the business is doing. And we're constantly engaging with them and re-engaging with them to get them to sign up for an intro session, to come into the gym and try it out. And all of our clients when they start using our system, they go from like, I hope 5 new people walk in the gym this month, to, wow, I got 30 new members this month. And I actually didn't have to hardly do anything. I basically had to say, when someone wanted to book a session, I just had to say yes. So we automated so much of the process of getting new members in the gym that, it's $1,000 a month, and the average CrossFit membership is around $200 a month. So all anyone has to do is get 5 new members based on our stuff one time, and it's completely paid for. And so it's a huge win for them, and it's a lot of fun for us because we're always making it better too. And so it's fun for us because we know that we're helping people who they started in the gym business to reach more people, build a membership base, build a community, have fun, teach people fitness. And now we're able to actually allow them to do that. Because before, a lot of people, if you talk to our clients, a lot of people, before they get to that point, or before they had our system, they were like stressed out trying to figure out how to do all the marketing and sales and the business side of the house. And our goal is to manage more and more of the business side of the house, the pieces that people aren't thinking about when they open a gym. And we want to manage it so well that their main concern is how do I keep my coaching staff and myself, how can we be the best coaches possible, which in the end helps make the entire planet healthier. Because if we have more people walking in the gyms and interacting with coaches who actually have time to learn how to be a better coach instead of being stressed out, we're going to be in a much better spot.
Yeah, no, I love that, man, because it's one of those things where, like you said earlier, when you became with your CrossFit gym, like you had to become the brilliant practitioner inside your business, so the amazing coach, but then you had to become this amazing numbers guy, marketer, entrepreneur. And if somebody can just outsource that and just put all their focus on just being brilliant at their one thing,
Yep.
I mean, it's just so massive, man. So I love that, dude. So and I'm just going to ask some selfish questions here because I'm actually looking at, I grew up in the gym business, right? My father owned and operated gyms for 30 years, but he sold them when I was 18, and I'm 35 now, so I've been detached from that business other than being a member and working out, myself. And I'm looking at a facility right outside. It's in the Bay Area, California. When you see other gym owners and clients that you're working with, when they're looking at a facility, what are some mistakes that you see they make, maybe with not allocating certain things for, rent space or planning and prepping when it comes to those initial open ups, and startups with that?
Ooh, let's see. The majority of what they set aside for budget is, Okay, number one is, I kind of touched on this a little bit, is they don't, they'll paint themselves in their corner by not considering the cost of their own labor. And so what they end up doing is building the business around themselves as an individual. So if they ever want to take a vacation, they can't do it. And another thing they don't realize is in order to hire enough people to do the job you're doing, you'd have to hire 3 or 4 people to do all the things that you're doing. Yeah. And so you're not going to hire one person to take over all the stuff that you're doing one day. You're going to hire like 5, because what you're capable of as a gym owner, you can just do more stuff. It's your business. You're going to put in 16-hour days, and you see the whole picture, so you can operate at a different level. So I think people assume that they're not going to need as many employees as they're going to need to fulfill all the duties that need to get done over time. So I'm real big on trying to not build the business around yourself. And if you do build a process or something or a system around yourself in your business, then you need to be paying yourself appropriately, because at some point you're going to pay someone else to do it. And that money needs to be there. And if you built a system where you're not accounting for the money it's going to take to replace you, then there's just not going to be enough money in the business. You're going to build the whole system wrong. Another thing that gym owners don't do is they don't consider how much they just don't even have a 3-year vision. They may go, oh, I want this many members. Oh, I want it in 3 years, I want to have 150 members. But that doesn't really mean anything. It's like, what do you want your revenue to be? Yeah. What's your space going to look like? What's your equipment turnover going to look like? Things that are not normally budgeted for is no marketing budget, or the marketing budget is like really small. I would say the average gym probably needs to be setting aside $2,000 or $3,000 a month in the beginning. From the very get-go. Like, you should never be spending less than $2,000 a month on marketing. You should actually study sales. Sales is going to be probably the last thing that you get off your plate. Usually, not always. Understanding that sales is just giving good advice and really putting some attention into the sales aspect. Considering the entire experience from the very beginning to the very end of the customer's experience. Does what happens on the website on the first time they look at what's going on match what is happening 6 months later when they're a member of the gym? Like, do all the pieces fit together and make sense? Or did you just say, oh, I heard this idea on this podcast, and I read this in a book, and I read this there, and I just mismatched the entire business together. They just took a bunch of random tactics and then mashed them together, and then can't figure out why they can't retain members. Tracking how many people are coming to the website versus how many people are signing up for the newsletter or opting in for a free ebook. Are you providing any value? Like, we do a lot of ebooks on, like, say if someone's interested in fat loss, they get a lot of value before they even step in the gym. Are you providing value before asking for anything? Are you tracking how many people are coming in your gym and how many people are joining as members? Are you tracking retention? I find most gym owners are not tracking retention. They're like, oh, how many members do you lose a month? And every time, like, all of them are like, oh yeah, maybe like 3 or 4 a month. And I was like, okay, well, why do your members typically leave? He's like, oh, because they moved out of town, or no one ever leaves because they don't like it. And I'm going, every gym is saying the same exact thing. I don't think people are intentionally lying. I think it's a subconscious lie that they're telling themselves, because people love to feel good about themselves, and they would prefer just to have the blinders on and not look at what's actually happening. So tracking the numbers of retention, and then it might mean getting a third party to go ask these people months later why they really left the gym, or at least having a survey is like, hey, was it the cost? Was it this or that? Let's see, what else do I see? I see people not setting themselves up for success by saying, look, this is how much money we need to make, and they're afraid to charge enough money for membership in order to reach their goals. So it's like when I sat down and go, oh, this is how much money I want to make personally. This is I want to be able to pay my coaches. I want to be able to provide health insurance. I want to be able to provide all these great things. I want to provide, showers and amenities in the gym. It's like, oh, okay, well, the gym needs to make $450,000 a year. And we're charging $125 a month at 150 members. These numbers don't add up. And people they're afraid to charge more money for a whole host of reasons. It's usually something that has to do with their own beliefs that they need to get over. They need to get over themselves. And so people typically just don't even charge enough to do the things they want to do, and then they get frustrated at other people when they're not reaching their goals, when they didn't set the system up to help them reach the goals in the first place. People like, they don't even think about how much money they're going to have to make to reach their goals. And they don't like to think about that number, because then they're going to have to turn around and ask somebody for that money. And that's uncomfortable. Man, I could probably go on and on and on.
Now, with your software and your system that you guys sell and help coach with, is that just CrossFit specific, or is that something that would apply to anybody that's really in the fitness space?
Right now, it's CrossFit specific. And the reason it's CrossFit specific only right now is because if we were to build it for other gyms, it would require a lot more customization, and we wouldn't be able to sell it the price we're selling it at. So it'd be like a $10,000 build out, whereas with CrossFit gyms, it's just straight up $1,000 a month across the board. So at some point down the road, we want to be able to expand out into things that are not CrossFit. But as of right now, that's what we're sticking with.
So when you see a gym owner, right? I mean, what are some other samples of revenue streams that maybe, because you look at a CrossFit gym when they go in there, and they may think, oh, it's all got to be membership revenue, but maybe they don't think about apparel. They don't think about white labeling maybe a supplement line and doing different things like that. Like, what are some other things? Because we have a lot of fitness entrepreneurs that are probably listening right now. That maybe, or any entrepreneur in their space, where they could create additional revenue centers that they're just missing out on.
Yeah, I think any kind of physical product becomes difficult for a lot of gym owners, because if you're doing everything yourself and you've built a business around yourself and there's only so many hours in the day, then managing retail becomes extremely difficult. And the idea of like, oh yeah, we need to make money on apparel or supplements or something like that becomes impossible. And the reason so many gyms struggle with retail specific, I'm going to go into I think retail is a really great revenue stream. And it can make up an additional 20% or more of how much money you bring in. I know gyms that make a third of their total revenue off of supplements. And the reason they're able to do it is because they set themselves up to be able to do that. Whereas a lot of gym owners, especially in CrossFit, they're so focused on the membership and they are spread so thin and cash flow so tight. The idea of retail is really, really difficult. In fact, we just did a show on our barbell business with a guy from Driven Nutrition. He specifically works with CrossFit gym owners on supplements, and his way into it is he teaches gym owners how to do retail. It's like, you got to buy the product and you got to get it off the shelf in 30 days. Like, if you don't have extra cash, then you can't do it. Like, it's just like you're going to end up buying supplements, sell it once, and then run out of money. So I think that any kind of retail, so apparel and supplements. Supplements is like my favorite because it's consumable and people are going to buy it on a monthly basis. And you can also set people up on subscription. But what I like to do is start an entirely different bank account and treat your retail as a completely different business. So we can't be like the U.S. government and dump all the money into one account and start stealing from Social Security to pay for, war. So it's the same thing. We got to be more responsible as business owners, or at least set up conditions for structures and conditions to kind of keep ourselves in a box, because we get really creative. People who start businesses tend to stay focused on one thing for a long period of time, and we get distracted easily. So I like to have my membership base. I like, for me, this is just kind of how I like to run a gym, is I find out how much money I need to make a month, and I base all my membership pricing on that. Anything I make above that is gravy. So that's what's going to pay the bills. That's what's going to pay the trainers, keep the lights on, all that kind of stuff. And then we do retail. That's a completely different business. So you're going to make an initial investment. Maybe it's $1,000. I highly recommend supplements because it's something people are going to buy every month, and they're cheaper. They can be cheaper. Profit margins are actually pretty high. And if you look at the fitness industry as a whole, who's making all the money? So supplement companies. There's a reason they're making all the money, is because, well, there's a lot of different reasons. Like there's some psychological factors, and then there's profit margins, and the fact that it's consumable. And so I highly recommend that. One really quick tip that I got last week from the guy we interviewed was buy like smaller. Don't buy like a 2-pound whey, or don't try to sell 5 pounds of whey first. Sell 2 pounds of whey first. That way you can sell it more easily. It's cheaper, and people are going to buy it over and over again. And then you might want to move to 5-pound bottle of whey later on when you're not as dependent on getting it sold within 30 days. So the idea is get the product in and out within 30 days. And little tricks for doing that too is when you place an order, like let your members know, post on the Facebook group for the gym, like, hey, we got this new stuff coming in. There's only 20 units of it. If you want it, post here and I'll set some aside for you. Or email me and we'll charge your account, and then that supplement will be sitting there for you. So I think retail is my favorite, like over time, just going to generate more cash every month. So a gym that's doing $20,000, $30,000 in membership revenue can then add another $5,000 to $8,000 in supplements alone. Apparel is also really good. I like doing when someone joins the gym, I like the idea of giving them like the simple basic gym t-shirt, like for free. It's like, oh, you get this really basic, and then they're going to walk in the gym, they're going to look around the gym and see that other people in the gym have like the cool version of the shirt, and that one's $20. And so I like the idea of having just like 2 or 3 versions of your gym t-shirt. And I think one of the mistakes people make in apparel is they try to do like 5 pieces of apparel. I'm like, start with 2. Start with like your like really bland like t-shirt, like when someone joins, and then like a cool t-shirt, and get to where you can like sell those really well every month. And then like in the winter, add a beanie or something. Yeah. But there's a mistake I made. Is like, oh yeah, we need to have shorts, we need to have beanies and jackets, and it's like, and we don't have that much cash to invest in this. And so when things don't sell within 30 days, it becomes a struggle. So in the beginning, I say start with supplements because it's easy to sell. And if it doesn't sell this month, it'll sell next month. With apparel, it's a little bit tougher, but you got to keep your eye on it. So like I was saying before, treat the cash like it's a separate business, but also you might want to put somebody in charge of that. Like somebody should be responsible who's not necessarily you, for maintaining retail and going, okay, we need to place a new order. Like when the numbers get down, when we get down to less than 15% of our total inventory, we need to order more. So retail is really good. And then especially with CrossFit gyms, because with CrossFit, it's such a skill-based, it's basically a sport. So it's such a skill-based program that you could host weightlifting. You could do competitions, which I'm not as big a fan of because it's like they're a lot of work for a very little pay. I like seminars, 3 or 4 hour seminars, charge $100. I'm a big fan of specialized programming. So in a CrossFit gym, and usually the model is we have big 1 hour classes, but say you want to get better at something else, you're going to have like a program that attaches on top of the general program, and that might cost an additional amount of money. That is really good for generating more revenue. So seminars, additional programming. My friend, he did a really good job with his gym where they basically built it in, and that's what I was talking about, considering like the person's on the first day of coming into his gym, people are made aware of that they're joining a general physical preparedness program, and that in 6, 9, 12 months from now, they might be ready to do a more specialized program. And they may see other people in the gym doing that more specialized program. So in 6 months down the road, they're like, hey, and they have like a quarterly assessment with a coach, and like, hey, I want to like get better at this thing. And the coach is like, oh, we have a program for that. And it's not a surprise. It's not a shock. And it's not a surprise that it costs more money either. And so they automatically upsell them, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months into them being a member of the gym, into this special program that does cost a little more money, that gets them what they originally bought plus more. So I'm a big fan of that as well, for additional revenue.
Yeah, badass, dude. So you're a guy that, because this stuff is changing, business is changing, marketing's changing, so you got to kind of be ahead of the curve. You got to kind of be a student of the game, if you will. What does that look like for you on a daily or weekly basis when it comes to, let's say, your overall self-development, to make sure that you guys are being ahead of the curve, and you're coaching your clients, and your software is where it needs to be? What does that look like for you?
Ooh, see, there's a lot of components there. So the guys that are working on the software, they're going to industry-specific conferences. They're interacting with the other software companies that like our software is built on, and maintaining those relationships. So for the software engineers and for the people that are overseeing the build of that, they're going to things that are specific to their industry. That it's not fitness they're going to. They're going to marketing software conferences. And so they're constantly learning, what's coming out next? What's going on? They're studying Facebook, they're studying YouTube, they're studying like Gmail ads, they're studying all these things to figure out how that's going to fit into our system better. We're always looking at our system as well and seeing how it can improve just internally from like an intuitive perspective. As coaches, as people who are training athletes, and we're also training gym owners, I'm studying other industries. So if I just study the fitness industry, it's going to get really incestual really quick. I don't know. I have a lot of people who come to, I run a mastermind for people in the fitness industry. So if someone's in the fitness industry and they're looking to really take it to the next level, I have a mastermind that costs $20,000 a year to be a part of. And one of the things that we're offering in that is, there's a lot of people in the fitness industry, but it's not just gyms. So I find people who join just a gym mastermind, it's like after being in it for a year and a half, people are going on like, we're just kind of repeating ourselves. So I think it's really important to, and I do this, is I get out of the gym industry and I pull stuff into my mastermind. So like I'm studying things like in the dating industry, or I'm looking at what's happening, because we have a software component, like I'm learning, like there's also that thing coming in, where it's like, okay, and I'm having to be constantly creative. I'm reading books on leadership. I'm constantly reading about nutrition, but from a perspective that might not be from what's typical in CrossFit. I'm not really reading paleo books and books on counting macros anymore. I'm looking more into like the microbiome. Like I'm always trying to like take it to the next level. So constantly being educated, attending conferences, being uncomfortable a lot. I might be at Paleo FX conference, which is very paleo and movement oriented, and then a few months later I'm at the Bulletproof conference, which is full of people who love to be sedentary and try to figure out how to be healthy anyway. And then I go hang out with people who do the vegan thing and see what do they have to offer. Whereas I think a lot of people get very dogmatic about where they're at in business. They get dogmatic in business. They get dogmatic in their health and fitness. And they go, this is the thing that worked for me, so I'm going to keep doing this forever. It's like, well, the thing that got you to where you are now is probably going to be the same exact thing that holds you back going forward. So I guess I recommend, and what I do is try to get a variety of experiences in all the time and interact with people in different industries, in order to do that. There's different types of people. For me, I'm highly creative, so I can take an idea that might be happening, in a different industry, like the automotive industry, and I go, oh, or the wealth building industry, and I go, oh, this actually works for the fitness industry too, but in a different way, and no one's doing it. And then there's also the type of person who's way more organized, and they're focused on details, and that person is going to do much better with, well, this is what's worked so far, so let's just implement these steps. But that would be impossible for me to do. And so, like, what I have is a business partnership where I have a guy who loves doing the things that are tried and true and work, and I'm the guy who likes to layer in, more creative, like, fun stuff. So it's good to know who you are when you're building these things too. So if you're an organized person trying to do creative work or try to, like, go to a different industry, it might not work. But if you're a creative person, it's probably a good idea to go check out what, other industries are doing too.
Yep, love it, man. So if the Mike today, knowing what you know now, could go back and tell the Mike at like 18 years old, right before you're getting ready to join the Navy, if you could go back in time, knowing what you know today with your experiences, and give yourself just a couple pieces of advice, like knowing what you know now today, what would that be?
Ooh, that's always a hard question, and I love asking other people the question too, because I really don't have any regrets, because I learned everything that happened since then has made me who I am now, and I love who I am now. And so it's kind of like, I don't know if I would want to change anything. But yeah, I mean, going back to, I do advise people who are younger, and I think a lot of times people don't take it so serious. Learn to enjoy the ride. Take care of yourself. Let's see. I'm trying to see how to say this. I was 18-year-old Mike probably did a lot of things for the wrong reasons. 18-year-old Mike did a lot of things to impress other people. And I would really encourage myself to find what it is that I really wanted in my heart. And it's an easy thing to say, and it's a hard thing to do, is like, because all that chatter going on in your mind is really not your own words. And so I would highly encourage myself to pick up meditation, probably, because that's kind of, for me, has been at the core of what allowed me to move more quickly. So it's accelerated my learning is that. And if someone created a rule that seems like it doesn't make sense, you should probably try breaking it.
Yeah, love it, man, love it, dude. So, where's
I would also tell myself to eat magic mushrooms.
Yep, hell yeah, dude, love it, dude. So, where's the best place, Mike? I mean, if somebody wants to go check out your podcasts, they want to maybe check out your software, maybe they want to check out your mastermind, like, what's the best place to go out there and learn more about you?
Yeah, if you want some of the fitness stuff, go to barbellshrug.com. For, if you're a gym owner or a fitness entrepreneur in general, or any entrepreneur really, we have a show called Barbell Business, and you can just go to barbellbusiness.com. And then if you're a fitness entrepreneur and really are ready to invest and take things to the next level, check out barbellmastermind.com. And those are really the three big spots. I'm going to be launching my own personal podcast here at the first of the year. So not really sure what we're going to call it yet. But if you're paying attention to what's going on and following me on Instagram or Facebook, just search for Mike Bledsoe, then you'll be up to date on what's going on.
Awesome. Love it, man. And those that are watching and listening, we'll make it really easy. There's going to be links below to each of his sites where you can just click on there. We'll have also Mike's social media links, so you can follow him right on social media. So, man, dude, this has been a massive honor having you on the show, Mike. I really appreciate your time being here, dude. You've dropped a lot of serious information, man, and I truly appreciate it. And to those watching and listening, you guys, I know we end every podcast with this, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information is not power. It's taking that information, applying it to your life, taking action on that, creates power in your world. And again, Mike shared so many, I don't care what field that you're in, what Mike shared with you guys, you can apply to any aspect of your life and your business and go out there and create success. So take something that he shared with you, take immediate action. And again, Mike, man, this has been a massive honor. Appreciate you being here, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, Joshua.
All right, you guys, well, we will see you next time.